Across the state, rivers are still rising to the east. Columbia's Hinkson Creek is settling in for now, but this past weekend it was a different story. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Reek.
And I'm Brittany Pieper. Over the weekend, the creek reached water levels not seen in several years. KOMU 8's Ben Burke is live with more on the significance of this flood.
Now I know you guys can hear the rushing water behind me. Rain all day has added to the water level here at Hinkson Creek, but today, well, that was nothing compared to this past weekend. This past Saturday, actually, the gauge height of the creek went over 18 feet for the first time since late 2014. The year before that, 2013, was another big flood year for the Hinkson when the height peaked just above 20 feet. I spoke with a local dentist who has been working alongside the creek for 27 years. He told me he's seen worse.
It was a couple years after that, I'd say 95 or 96, we had 6 inches of rain in a day, and it went over the Hinkson Creek for a couple of hours. I come up here in the morning to check and see how the water was, and the water was over the Forum Boulevard, and the whole lower parking lot was underwater right up to the steps of the building.
Now, earlier today, I spoke with a woman here at the park who was, of all things, walking her dogs, and she told me that this weekend, the water level was almost up to bridge height. Reporting live in Columbia, Ben Burke, KOMU 8 News.
Flooding is not only causing troubles for drivers and pedestrians, but for Amtrak passengers as well. Floodwaters cover the rails on the Missouri River route between Kansas City and St. Louis. At Jefferson City's Amtrak station, MoDOT's railroad operations manager isn't sure when the tracks will reopen.
Of course, again, we want to make sure everything is safe once those floodwaters recede, and Union Pacific has procedures in place that they will make sure that the tracks are safe before they allow the freight trains and the passenger trains back out onto the route.
Jamison says the best case scenario is a weekend reopening. Ticketed passengers will ride a bus instead.
As the rain continues to fall, the water levels are rising not just in the Columbia-Jeff City area, but in Morgan County as well. Today, the water was almost spilling over the banks of the Lamine River. The river is at flood stage and is expected to rise almost 7 feet in the next day. However, the flooding in the area was much worse over the weekend, according to several residents there.
We had 1.5 inches today, and we lucked out. And last weekend's when we had pretty near 5 inches in surrounding areas, and made it difficult for us to deliver feed because a lot of highways were closed north of us.
It's not over yet. The Lamine is rising as we speak, and by tomorrow morning it's expected to get within 2 feet of the high levels we saw over the weekend. The National Weather Service put out a flood warning earlier today for Osage County residents. Several people living near the Marys River have been preparing for the floods for days by sandbagging their homes and moving furniture to high grounds. Many people who live in the county say flooding is expected, and it's just a matter of preparing for it. Some of the houses, like Jill Snodgrass's, already are equipped for floods because they're elevated.
We never move out. We always have electricity and water and internet and, able to cook and, pretty much just be normal.
Snodgrass and her husband returned from vacation to a flooded home on Sunday. Today was the first day they've left the house since returning. The flood warning is expected to be over by Friday afternoon. Obviously, the rain has been the big story of the day, of the whole week, really, so let's check in with Megan to see when the rain will finally end. The United States House of Representatives will vote tomorrow on the GOP bill to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. House Republicans have been working nonstop to try and flip undecided or skeptical lawmakers on a new health care bill. This is the second time Republicans have worked on legislation to repeal and replace since Donald Trump became president. The House Majority Leader says the GOP does have the votes and the bill will pass.
An update from the 6 o'clock news. The shots fired report on the St. Louis University campus. A SLU spokesperson says the weapon in question was a toy and no shots were actually fired. Parts of the campus were on lockdown for a while. The prosecution and the defense battled today at the Boone County Courthouse. 25-year-old Darius Lucas is on trial for a 2015 double murder at a trailer park. Prosecutors say the unusual type of bullets used tie Lucas to the crime. Lucas is accused of murdering James Richardson and Kenneth Long. Prosecutors say the bullets matched ammo Lucas's girlfriend purchased before the shooting. Only one Columbia store sold that ammunition and had a limited supply. The defense says Lucas wasn't in Columbia at the time time of the murders. They say Lucas was with his girlfriend on a birthday trip to an Ohio amusement park. However, Boone County detectives say Lucas's phone records don't match that alibi. The trial is expected to continue through Friday.
A big loss for Ameren in northern Missouri could mean a win for landowners here in mid-Missouri. KOMU 8's Max Deeknight's here to tell us why farmers are optimistic the Grain Belt Express Clean Line project may have hit a major roadblock today. Max?
Yeah, Brittany, farmers have been fighting this one for a while. It's called the Grain Belt Express project, a clean energy line that would run through mid-Missouri. Farmers argue the company, Clean Line Energy, is trying to build on private property without their approval. But a recent denial of a different project in northern Missouri has given them some hope today. The Missouri Western Court of Appeals recently dealt a major blow to that project, saying Ameren would need to get county approval first before building. Last night, Ameren announced it was looking at a new option. Some local farmers think all of that could affect the Grain Belt Express by setting legal precedent.
That is huge as far as saying that county assents are important. Out in the Greenbelt project alone, there are 6 counties that have rescinded or invalidated their approvals.
I reached out to the company that is trying to build the Grain Belt Express, but a spokesperson didn't get back to us in time for air. The company's website says the project would, quote, reduce carbon pollution and bring jobs to Missouri. In the studio, Max Deeknight, KOMU 8 News.
Missouri lawmakers are debating the new budget, and new numbers raise concerns. The state's tax revenue grew 3% since last year, but it needed to grow 7% to fund the budget. This despite more than $300 million in spending cuts by former Governor Nixon and Governor Greitens. Lawmakers have less than 48 hours to submit the budget to the governor's office.
The General Assembly is constitutionally required to submit a budget to the governor by 6 p.m. Friday. This has left both sides of the abortion debate upset. Republican lawmakers are concerned their abortion bills are being forced to take a backseat to the budget, and one organizer said Planned Parenthood fears increased state control of family planning and Medicaid, leading to more restrictions. Until the budget's passed, both sides remain unhappy.
Lumping a lot of things together, in my opinion, that's how bad things happen. So quite frankly, it's pretty disappointing.
People who need family planning services, who want to go to the experts who talk openly about reproductive health options, they won't be able to choose those quality providers.
Appropriations Subcommittee Chairman Representative David Wood says any consequences of the budget on Planned Parenthood are to be determined. Coming up, how a local after-school program got some help from the community it serves.
Plus, the flooding here is bad. It's much worse in the St. Louis area. That's coming up.
The warm-up, the dry time, all of that.
Dry time.
Yes, today was quite chilly.
All right, Megan, thank you very much.
Here in mid-Missouri, we are not the only ones trying to keep up with what seems like constant rain. Historic flooding in eastern Missouri is only getting worse. Take a look. We have some video from St. Louis County where days of rain has flooded hundreds of roadways, homes, and businesses. The flooding got so bad, MoDOT has had to shut down multiple interstates and highways. Officials say most of those closed roadways will not be able to reopen until later in the week and only get worse as the rivers crest.
In Joplin, the heavy rains turned Grand Falls into a sight to see. Take a look at it for yourself. This is Shoal Creek, the stream that flows over the edge. Grand Falls is the largest waterfall in Missouri. This is not a time for any river rafting. It's way too dangerous. The Blind Boone Center gives back to the community.
But today, the center got some help of its own. Find out how after the break. Housing Authority's Moving Ahead After School and Summer program received gifts from 2 of its sponsors today. KOMU 8's Justice Henderson's here in the studio to explain what the program received and how it will help it move forward.
The Moving Ahead or MAP program helps youth living in public housing and surrounding neighborhoods. Today, 2 of its sponsors donated gifts that could help the children in the program excel.
What I love about MAP is that they help me with my homework and they help me get through stuff that I'm having trouble with.
And today, the kids at the program received a couple of gifts that would help them this summer and beyond.
We know we have seen kids' grade improve. We had kids more involved in the community, like going out to do community service and loving doing it. We have seen their reading scores come up. We have seen their life skills come up to learn how to deal with conflict.
One sponsor provided a check that will help the summer program with all of its weekly swimming and skating outings.
Yeah, we just think it's important to support the kids for the summer program, to give them some place to go to help their education and further their education.
Another sponsor has come in to help the MAP program launch its trauma-informed art making for children who need it.
We need this technique to really be embedded. We need this to be used on a local level to really go forward and work in the future to help heal the trauma that's in our local youth.
MAP also promotes competence, usefulness, belonging, and influence to the population it serves. Other sponsors for the program include several banks here in Columbia, Veterans United, and the City of Columbia. In the studio, Justice Henderson, KOMU 8 News.
Boone County residents can now call a new number for non-emergency situations. Instead of dialing 911, 311 is the number to call for non-life-threatening or non-immediate emergencies. Boone County's Joint Communications Director says the two numbers will prioritize emergency responses.
The non-emergency calls are answered by the same telecommunicators that answer emergency calls. However, our phone system is programmed such that they know the emergency call coming in is from 911 and they know to answer that first.
In 2016, the center received 83,000 emergency calls and 320,000 non-emergency calls. Once again, the operators will answer 911 first. Chris, thank you very much. There's an old saying, put your money where your mouth is.
A woman in Columbia, the country, did exactly that, but it didn't stop there. More after the break. Doctors say always eat your greens. A Colombian woman, the country, she did that and then some. After selling several household items to pay for a vacation, doctors say the woman swallowed $7,000 cash following an argument with her husband. She had planned to surprise her husband with the trip, but he was upset when he noticed things missing around the house, and since the cash was not wrapped in any way, doctors say this was truly an act of desperation.
And Ben Franklin, so it's American bills. Okay, coming up at 10 o'clock, FBI Director James Comey testifies about the decision to reopen the Hillary Clinton email investigation.
What, during his testimony, he said is making him feel sick. Join us at 10. Megan?